"Are we nearly there, Mummy?" asked Flora. But her mother, distracted, could only answer with, It was a glorious day. It was hard to believe that the country had already been at war for 3 long years. Lillian felt a tinge of guilt. She must be mad. She really shouldn't be doing this. But life was hard. It was also very dull. She felt old before her time. It was ages since a man had even noticed her, let alone paid her a compliment. Then he'd come along. She worked hard all day doing her bit, so why shouldn't she get out and enjoy herself? She was still only 19, for goodness sake. All at once, he turned slightly and saw them. "Hey, you came," he said with a lazy smile. She hesitated, chewing her bottom lip anxiously. Flora looked up at her.
"Is that man my daddy, Mummy?"
Lillian let slip a nervous laugh. How could she explain this to a 3-year-old? Flora hardly knew her father. He'd been called up just days before she was born, and he'd only seen her a few times when he came home on leave before he was sent overseas. "No," she said, "this isn't your daddy." And looking the Canadian straight in the eye, she added, "Uncle Woody is a friend." Woody crouched down to the child's level. "You must be Flora," he said, holding out his hand. "With all those lovely golden curls, you can only be a princess. I'm very pleased to meet you." The child grinned, and then glanced up at her mother for approval. Lillian nodded, and the little girl shook Woody's hand. As he rose to his feet, Woody stuck out his elbow, and Lillian threaded her arm through his. Then they turned towards the Ilex Way, her suggestion, and began their stroll. They had agreed to meet in Goring because Lillian was concerned that people might recognise her in Worthing, and she was anxious not to be the subject of idle gossip. After all, she was a married woman, and he was a stranger a long way from his home. They might not be able to recall where they'd seen her. Who remembers a railway porter anyway? But she didn't want anything getting back to her mother. Dorcas had strong views on the sanctity of marriage. And besides, it had taken Lillian a long time to find war work that suited her. She liked her platform duties at Worthing and didn't want to risk being given the sack. Lillian had lived with her mother all her life. She'd never even left home when she and Gordon got married. They couldn't afford the rent on a place of their own, and now that his army pay had been reduced, it was well nigh impossible. It made her angry to think that just because he was a POW and wasn't actively fighting, she was expected to exist on next to nothing, especially when she had a child to support. But that was the way it was. Luckily, living with Mum meant that she had a babysitter when she had to work different shifts. "This is a beautiful place," said Woody, breaking into her thoughts, and he was right. The avenue was nearly a mile long and ran due east from St Mary's Church, Goring by Sea, to the village of Ferring. It was wide and yet at the same time shady. Apparently, the ilex, or home oaks, had come from somewhere in the Mediterranean and were planted in the previous century by the then owner of the Goring Hall estate. The public had been kept at bay by a pair of ornamental gates at either end of the walk until 1940, when they had been removed as part of the war effort. The avenue had now become popular with strolling couples. He stopped walking and looked down at her. "Almost as beautiful as you." Lillian felt her face flush. "Don't be daft," she said, doing her best to make light of it, but he'd already made her heart beat faster. He leaned over her and cupped her face in his hands. As much as she wanted to be kissed, something made her step back. "Careful," she said with a nervous laugh. "I'm a married woman, remember?" He apologised immediately, and she wished she hadn't reminded him. They resumed their walk. "Tell me about him," he said, "your husband." Lillian was slightly